You may not know this, but I'm a bit of a Formula 1 fanatic, so this project has had me excited for quite some time. I'm Jason and this is Matchbox's Formula 1 casting, which came in many different liveries over the years. I will be customising this to reflect the livery of one of my favourite teams of years gone by. This team no longer exists, but their amazing turquoise livery drew me in as a kid. As it stands, this model replicates the 1993 Sauber C12, itself a gorgeously sculpted race car. And here is the car I'll be recreating, a 1990 Leyton House CG901, using these excellent decals from Diecast. As a young boy, I had several motorsport videos on VHS. Before I could really understand what was going on in them, I watched mainly for the distinctive liveries of the race cars. Among them were the March 86B in Formula 3000 and the March Formula 1 car, carrying the same colour scheme. These cars were sponsored by Leyton House, a Japanese real estate company, and the name the March team would later adopt in 1990. The owner of Leyton House was Akira Akagi. He had a lifelong passion for motorsports and considered it as a promotional platform for his company. In 1985, Akagi was impressed by the performance of young Japanese driver Akira Hagiwara, who had been competing in the major Japanese championships. Hagiwara became Akagi's protege, with the hope that together the pair could reach Formula 1. Sadly, Hagiwara would be killed during a private test of a Mercedes 190e 2.3 touring car in April 1986. This was the first car that was decorated in the iconic turquoise Leyton House livery. Akagi's desire to support and develop young drivers continued in Japan, but also spread to Europe, where he attended Imola for a Formula 3000 race. There he met Italian racing driver Ivan Capelli, who was struggling for funds to complete the 1986 season. He was competing for Genoa Racing in the March 86B chassis. In 1985, he had already won and placed third in 8 entries, and then continued this in 1986 with a victory and a third place in 4 races. At Imola, he placed second. Akagi provided Capelli with funds to complete the season, alongside the car receiving Leyton House branding. Capelli then won a further race on his way to taking the Formula 3000 title. At the time, it was the main feeder series into Formula 1. Akagi wanted Capelli to compete for him in the Japanese Formula 2 series for 1987, but Capelli and his manager Cesare Garibaldi told Akagi that he was ready for the step up to Formula 1. Instead, they asked for $4 million of sponsorship funding from Akagi. He agreed, so Garibaldi went to March Engineering to get a car built ready for Formula 1, naturally adorned in the Leyton House colours. The move saw the return of the March name to Formula 1 for the first time in 5 years. The team had originally been set up by Max Mosley, Alan Rees, Graham Coker and Robin Hurd in 1970. March's best season came in that first year, finishing third in the World Constructors' Championship. After that, the team was a regular midfield finisher, tailing off later in the decade and then sitting out the 1978 to 1980 seasons. The 1987 March 87P was a March Formula 3000 chassis that had been modified to accommodate a larger fuel tank, accept a Ford Cosworth DFZ engine, and had revised aerodynamics. It was rushed to completion. The Cosworth engine was a World Sports Car Championship spec unit, meaning it was 60 mph slower along the straights. It didn't make it to the starting grid in its first race after blowing the engine during the warm-up. At the time, the team consisted of just 17 people, which included Akagi, his girlfriend, his translator, and Capelli's father. By the second race of the season, the March 871 chassis was ready and had been designed to Formula 1 standards. Capelli would score his first point for the team with a 6th place finish at Monaco. The team finished 13th place in the constructors' standings. In August of 1987, an engineer by the name of Adrian Newey joined the team. He designed the March 881 chassis ready for the 1988 season. Brazilian Mauricio Gugelmin was recruited to drive alongside Capelli, and between them, the pair achieved 6th place in the Constructors' Championship. Capelli achieved his first Formula 1 podium, finishing 3rd in the Belgian Grand Prix, and then bettered this with 2nd at the Portuguese Grand Prix. It would be the only normally aspirated car to lead a race all year. The 881's competitive edge was in its aerodynamics and slim monocoque, which was copied by most of the grid for 1989 and highlighted the talents of Newey. March sold off its F1 team and its rights to produce Formula 3000 cars to Akagi in May 1989. They had begun the season using last year's 881 and introduced the new chassis for the Monaco Grand Prix. Cesare Garibaldi had died in a road accident in January that year, so the new chassis name was prefixed with CG in his memory. The CG901 was unfortunately very uncompetitive. The team's only point of the year came in the season opener, where Gugelmin achieved the first and only podium of his Formula 1 career at his home race, Brazil. Reliability had plagued the CG891, but the 1990 CG901, designed by Adrian Newey, would be a far better prospect. The CG901 is the car that I'm recreating today, carrying Capelli's number 16. The team entered as Leyton House Racing for 1990, but started the season poorly following issues with the wind tunnel for aerodynamic development. As a result, Newey was fired by the team, but not before he could make tweaks that turned around the team's fortunes. There's some footage of the 1990 French Grand Prix at the end of this video, where you can see Capelli fending off the Ferrari of Alain Prost for the lead in the closing laps of the race. Capelli and Gugelmin had qualified 7th and 10th respectively, but found themselves running 1st and 2nd for much of the race. This was largely due to the team's decision to not pit for tyres. While Gugelmin eventually retired with engine failure, Capelli continued to lead until a misfire forced him to let Prost past. He held on to achieve a career-equal best 2nd place. The improved showings continued after France, but the drivers found themselves outside of point-scoring positions in most races. However, the team was struggling off-track. Akagi was reducing the budget constantly. He brought in an accountant, who then assumed power when team principal Ian Phillips was taken down with meningitis. Several other high-profile members of the team departed before the end of the year. With Newey gone, Gustav Brunner and Chris Murphy designed the CG911. The team switched from Judd V8 power to the new Ilmor V10, but again the team struggled early in the season, with successive retirements, 9 in a row for Capelli alone. He achieved his and the team's only point of the season in Hungary. But in September 1991, Akagi was implicated in a financial scandal and was arrested. Akagi's associate, Ken Marable, took over the running of the team, but money was short. Capelli left the team for the final 2 races of the season, and Cole Wendelinger took his seat. They finished 12th in the constructors' standings. Capelli joined Ferrari for 1992, while Gugelmin left for Jordan. The team was sold to a consortium including Marable, Brunner, John Byfield and Henny Vollenberg for 1992, with the team reverting to the March name. Naturally, it lost the Leighton House branding. Wendlinger stayed on and achieved 4th place in Canada, but that would be the only points scored by the team that year. March finally folded for good in early 1993 after failed attempts to sell the team during the winter of 1992. Akagi, meanwhile, had been sentenced to 10 years in prison for his affairs in the Fuji Bank scandal, before restarting his business operations on his release. He died in August 2018. So while I'm applying the decals to my 1 in 53 scale CG901, let's talk about the casting itself a little. There have been several castings titled Formula 1 or similar in the Matchbox range over the years. There was the generic Formula 1 car in the Superfast line at number 34D from 1971 to 1975. Then there was the F1 racer of 1984, which was a big chunky model reflecting the Formula 1 cars of the era. Similarly, the Grand Prix racing car of 1988 took this approach and was then revised in a series of IndyCar releases in the early 1990s. This casting wasn't originally called the Formula 1. It initially had Williams-Renault FW14B on its base, as that was the car it was replicating. It was given number MB246 and released in 1993 as part of a Nigel Mansell twin pack, alongside the Grand Prix racing car in a Ferrari livery. This was to commemorate Mansell's 1992 Formula 1 World Championship title in the Williams. The Williams casting began being reissued in 1994 to reflect some of the cars from the 1993 season. As such, the metal base was modified to read Formula 1 instead. There was a new Williams, reflecting the number 0 FW14C car of Damon Hill, the number 30 Sauber C12 of JJ Lehto, the number 9 footwork arrows driven by Derek Warwick, and the number 27 Ferrari F93A belonging to Jean Alesi. For 1995, 5 new models were unveiled in 1994 liveries. These were the number 12 Lotus 107C of Johnny Herbert, Christian Fittipaldi's number 9 footwork FA15, Rubens Barrichello's number 14 Jordan 194, and teamed with a Kenworth transporter were Damon Hill's number 0 Williams FW16 and Jean Alesi's number 27 Ferrari 412 T1. The official replicas ended here, but white and then orange models with MB Racing tampos were released for the US market in 1996 and 1997 respectively. The colour was changed to yellow for 1998 and was available worldwide for its final year of issue. In 1997, as part of the 75 Challenge, a version painted metallic gold was released at number 74 in the series and was limited to 10,000 units. Well, I hope that has informed and or entertained you. To me, Leighton House is not only an attractive livery, but they have such an interesting, quirky and brief history. I've actually got quite a bit of authentic Leighton House merch from the late 80s and early 90s. If you want to see that in another Leighton House themed video, comment below and let me know. Also, during the reveal, I'll show this completed custom up against a couple of different category castings that I have that share this unique livery. Here's how this version of the Matchbox Formula 1 casting was looking before I set to work on it. While I am a fan of this Sauber C12 dark grey livery, this one had a nasty brown mess on the front wing, chipped bodywork, and all of the Goodyear print from the tyres had rubbed off. I grabbed some superb decals from Diecast, replicating one of my favourite ever F1 team's cars, and transformed it so it now looks like this. What a great livery this is. The turquoise of the Leighton House livery grabs your attention at first glance, and I've managed to replicate the colour with Tamiya's TS41 Coral Blue. I've had to repaint part of the rear wing to give it turquoise end plates, and I think it's come out looking great. I've also painted in the design of Ivan Capelli's helmet to match his number 16, which features on the front and rear wings. Let's see this with my other Leighton House models, joining the 1 in 18 scale 1987 Porsche 962C and a 1986 Honda Civic from that year's Macau Gia race. You might have spotted some of my other memorabilia too there, so ask away in the comments if you want to know more. One of my favourite bits of this build was filling the driver's helmet opening with ammo wet effects, which gives the visor a realistic finish. What do you think of this project though? Let me know down in the comments and leave a like if you enjoyed it. Be sure to stick around to see footage from the 1990 French Grand Prix where victory was oh so close, and don't forget to subscribe too. So thanks for watching and I'll see you again for the next one. Bye for now.
0.646. Capelli managed to hold him off. These two can continue on inhibited in this battle. The closing stages of the 1990 French Grand Prix. Van Capelli, Alan Prost did stop Capelli's drive in this race. Yeah, really is giving us a wonderful exhibition. Prost has passed Van Capelli.